look around you today, and you will notice a growing phenomenon that is confusing sociologists, frustrating matchmakers, and absolutely infuriating modern women. We are seeing a massive rise in a very specific demographic of single men. I'm not talking about the guys living in their parents' basements. I am talking about high-value, older men. Men in their late 30s, 40s, and 50s. Men who have built successful businesses, who own beautiful homes, who are in great physical shape, who are emotionally grounded, and who have plenty of resources. These men are the ultimate catch. They are the exact finish line that modern women claim they are sprinting toward. But there is a catch. These men are deliberately, intentionally, and happily staying unmarried. And instead of asking why, instead of doing any genuine self-reflection, modern women and the mainstream media have decided to invent a series of comfortable lies to explain away this phenomenon. They keep blaming the exact wrong things because facing the actual truth would completely shatter their worldview. Today we are going to tear down those comfortable lies. We are going to look at exactly why high-value older men are opting out of the marriage market, and why women keep blaming everything except themselves. Let's start with the biggest, most heavily circulated lie on the internet today. You have heard this 1,000,000 times. It goes like this: he is just intimidated by a strong, successful, independent woman. Every time a highly educated, high-earning woman in her late 30s gets rejected by an established man, this is her immediate defense mechanism. She gathers with her friends over overpriced cocktails, and they all nod in agreement. He just couldn't handle your success. Your degrees and your salary made him feel less of a man. His fragile ego just couldn't take it. It is a beautiful narrative. It protects her ego completely, but it is a total absolute delusion. Let me let you in on a closely guarded secret about high-value men. We are not intimidated by your corporate job title. We are not intimidated by your master's degree. We are not intimidated by the fact that you manage a team of 20 people, or that you make 6 figures. We simply do not care. Men and women value completely different things in the dating market. Women inherently practice hypergamy. They date across and up. A woman wants a man who makes as much as her, or preferably, significantly more. She looks at a man's financial portfolio and his status as a baseline requirement for attraction. Because women operate this way, they incorrectly project this exact same framework onto men. They think, well, I value a high salary in a partner, so a high-value man must also value my high salary. No, that is not how male attraction works. A 45-year-old man who pulls in $500,000 a year does not care if you make $200,000 or $20,000. He doesn't need your money. He already won the financial game. He fought those battles. He climbed that mountain. What he actually cares about is how you make him feel when he comes home from fighting those daily battles. When a man rejects a highly successful corporate woman, it is almost never because he is intimidated by her bank account. It is because she brings her masculine, competitive, combative corporate energy into the romantic relationship. She treats him like a hostile vendor in a boardroom negotiation. She argues every point. She needs to be right. She cannot turn off the boss persona. High-value men already deal with hyper-competitive, aggressive people all day long. The last thing a man wants is to come home to a beautiful house and have to fight another corporate battle in his own living room. He isn't intimidated by your success. He is completely exhausted by your attitude. He is repelled by the lack of peace. And that brings us to the core currency that older, successful men value above absolutely everything else: peace. If you want to understand the older, high-value male mind, you have to understand the concept of peace. When a man is in his 20s, he is driven by chaos. He is driven by ambition, by hormones, by the need to conquer, to prove himself, to build his empire. He will tolerate a massive amount of drama from a beautiful woman because his biological drive overrides his logical brain. But something profound happens to a man when he crosses into his late 30s and 40s, especially if he has successfully built his empire. The hormone levels stabilize. The desperate need to prove himself to the world fades away. He looks at the kingdom he has built, his home, his investments, his routines, his quiet Sunday mornings, And he realizes that peace is the most expensive, luxurious commodity on earth. He will ruthlessly protect that peace against any threat. When a modern woman enters his life, bringing chaotic energy, constant complaints, tests, mind games, and a sense of entitlement, he doesn't argue with her. He doesn't try to fix her like he might have when he was 25. He simply shows her the door. He calculates the ROI, the return on investment. And he realizes that her physical beauty is not worth the destruction of his mental tranquility. This leads us to the second massive lie that women tell to explain away male disinterest. He just wants a young, dumb, naive 20-year-old that he can easily control. You see this accusation everywhere. When Leonardo DiCaprio or any wealthy older man dates a younger woman, the internet collectively loses its mind. Women in their late 30s and 40s instantly label the man a creep, a predator, and a raging narcissist who is deeply afraid of women his own age. They claim he wants someone dumb so he can manipulate her. Let's dismantle this completely. First of all, assuming that a 25-year-old woman is inherently dumb or easily manipulated is incredibly insulting to young women. But more importantly, it completely misses the actual reason why older, established men prefer younger women. It is not about control. It is about a lack of baggage. By the time a modern woman reaches 35 or 40, if she has been heavily participating in the modern dating market, she is often deeply scarred. She has been through multiple long-term breakups. She has dealt with players. She has likely accumulated debt. She has built up massive defensive walls. She carries the ghosts of 5 different ex-boyfriends into every new interaction. She is cynical. She is easily triggered. And she operates from a place of deep suspicion. She expects the man to pay for the sins of the men who came before him. A younger woman, in her early to mid-20s, generally doesn't have this heavy armour yet. She is still optimistic. She is more cooperative. She is more willing to follow a man's lead rather than fighting him at every single intersection. She is physically vibrant, yes, but more importantly, her energy is light. Older men do not want to date younger women to control them. They want to date younger women because interacting with them is easy, pleasant, and drama-free. They want a partner who looks at them with genuine admiration, rather than a partner who looks at them with a magnifying glass, searching for flaws to complain about on a group chat. And let's be brutally honest about biology. High-value men who want to start a family, or add to their existing family, understand basic biological realities. A man of 45 can easily have children. A woman of 45 is facing a very different biological reality. It is not sexism, it is science. But modern society demands that we pretend biology doesn't exist to protect people's feelings. High-value men deal in reality, not in feelings. Now, let's talk about the absolute biggest elephant in the room. The primary reason high-value men are completely avoiding marriage altogether. It is the legal and financial reality of the modern marriage contract. Imagine you are a man who spent 20 years working 80-hour weeks. You missed parties. You sacrificed sleep. You took massive risks. You built a company from the ground up. You amassed a net worth of $5 million. Now, society asks you to sign a contract. This contract states that you will invite a partner into your life. If, at any point in the next 20 years, this partner simply becomes unhappy, or bored for any reason, or for no reason at all, she can legally break the contract. And as a reward for breaking the contract, the government will step in and give her half of everything you have ever built. She will get the house you paid for. She will get a portion of your future earnings for years to come. And if you have children, she will likely get primary custody. And you will be forced to pay her to see your own kids on alternate weekends. What sane, logical, financially literate man would ever sign that contract? High-value men are, by definition, excellent risk managers. You do not become highly successful without knowing how to assess risk and reward. And when a successful man looks at the modern marriage contract, all the warning lights on his dashboard start flashing red. The risk is catastrophic financial and emotional ruin. The reward is... what exactly? What does the modern marriage contract offer a high-value man that he cannot get without signing the contract? He can get companionship without marriage. He can get physical intimacy without marriage. He can even have children and raise them without involving the government in his relationship. Women refuse to understand this perspective. They view marriage purely as a romantic milestone, a fairy tale ending with a beautiful dress and a massive party. They cannot comprehend why a man views it as a high-risk corporate merger with a highly biased legal system waiting to destroy him if things go wrong. So, when a wealthy 40-year-old man tells a woman he isn't interested in getting married, she doesn't think, the legal system has made this a bad proposition for him. Instead, she reverts to the standard programming. She shames him. He has Peter Pan syndrome. He refuses to grow up. He's afraid of commitment. He's not a real man. Shaming tactics. It is always shaming tactics. But the funny thing about high-value men is that shaming tactics don't work on them. You cannot shame a man who is financially free, physically fit, and completely at peace into doing what you want. He will just look at you, smile, pay the restaurant bill, and never call you again. Let's dive deeper into the concept of commitment phobia, because this is another favourite target for women to blame. Men today are just terrified of commitment. No, they are not. Men are actually the most deeply committed creatures on the planet when they find something worth committing to. Look at a man's life. He will commit to a grueling fitness routine for 20 years. He will commit to building a business through economic recessions and sleepless nights. He will commit to his brothers, his friends, his hobbies. Men love commitment because commitment builds legacy. What men are terrified of is committing to the wrong woman. And sadly, the modern dating pool is filled with women who are objectively terrible candidates for long-term commitment. We have created a culture that actively encourages women to be selfish. We tell them, never settle. Demand a prince. You are the table. Put yourself first always. If a woman enters a relationship constantly asking, what can this man do for me? How can he upgrade my lifestyle? How can he entertain me? She is a liability, not a partner. A high-value man can spot this consumer mindset from a mile away. He knows that the moment he stops providing a constant stream of entertainment and resources, she will become resentful. Why would a man commit his life, his legacy, and his legal freedom to a woman who views him primarily as a utility provider? He won't, and that is exactly what we are seeing. There is a tragic irony playing out in society right now. The women who most aggressively demand traditional, high-value, providing men are usually the ones who possess the least amount of traditional, feminine, cooperative qualities. They want a traditional man who pays for everything, protects the family, and leads the household. But if he actually tries to lead, she calls him toxic and controlling. If he expects her to bring peace and nurturing energy to the home, she calls him misogynistic. She wants the benefits of a traditional man while operating like a modern, hyper-independent, combative feminist. It is a completely unworkable paradox. You cannot demand a traditional king if you refuse to be a traditional queen. I was speaking with a client of mine a few months ago. He is 48 years old, a highly successful commercial real estate developer. Divorced once in his early 30s, learned his lesson, rebuilt his wealth. He is currently dating a 28-year-old woman. I asked him, just out of curiosity, what makes her different from the women his own age that he used to date. His answer was incredibly revealing. He said, "When I come home after a brutal 12-hour day negotiating contracts, she doesn't immediately hand me a list of complaints. She doesn't interrogate me. She doesn't try to compete with me. She greets me with a smile. She asks if I want a drink, and she actually listens. She makes my life easier, not harder. She is my sanctuary." Sanctuary, that is the magic word. High-value men are looking for a sanctuary. The outside world is a war zone. Business is a war zone. To expect a man to invite a woman into his life who acts like another combatant is pure insanity. And yet, women in their 30s and 40s continue to blame the wrong things. They blame the patriarchy. They blame dating apps. They blame Instagram models. They write long, bitter articles for online magazines asking, "Where have all the good men gone?" The good men haven't gone anywhere. They are right here. They are at the country club. They are at the high-end gyms. They are sitting in first class. They are expanding their businesses. They just aren't looking at you. And until modern women are willing to look in the mirror and ask the most terrifying question of all. Am I actually a pleasant, peaceful person to be around? Nothing will change. Instead of doing that hard work, they double down on the delusion. They tell themselves that their standards are just too high. They proudly declare that they would rather be single than settle for a man who doesn't meet their 50-point checklist. And to that, the high-value men of the world say, "Okay, good luck," because the ultimate truth that women refuse to accept is that male value and female value age differently. A man's value in the dating market is largely based on his resources, his status, his confidence, and his ability to provide. These are things that take time to build. Therefore, a man's value generally peaks in his late 30s and 40s. A woman's primary value in the dating market, historically and biologically, is tied to her youth, her beauty, and her fertility. These things peak in her 20s. So, when a highly successful 42-year-old man interacts with a 42-year-old woman who is demanding, bitter, and rigid in her ways, he realizes he holds all the leverage. He has options. He can date a 25-year-old, a 30-year-old, or he can simply stay perfectly happy alone on his yacht. The woman, however, does not have those same options. But society refuses to tell her this truth until the window has completely closed. This isn't about being cruel. It is about understanding the brutal reality of the marketplace. So, what is the ultimate takeaway here? What happens next? For the high-value men listening to this, keep protecting your peace. Do not let society shame you into signing a contract that puts your entire life's work at risk for someone who doesn't respect you. Enjoy the fruits of your labor. If you find a woman who truly adds value to your life, who brings you peace, and who respects your leadership, cherish her. They are rare. But do not ever feel guilty for refusing to settle for modern chaos. And for the women listening, if any of you have made it this far without rage quitting the video, you have a profound choice to make. You can keep blaming men. You can keep hiding behind the lie that men are just intimidated by your success. You can keep calling older men creeps for wanting peace. You can keep writing your bitter blog posts. But none of that will keep you warm at night. None of that will build a family. None of that will bring a high-value man to your doorstep. If you actually want a high-value man, you have to fundamentally change what you bring to the market. Put down the armor. Stop treating relationships like corporate negotiations. Learn the value of cooperation. Understand that a man doesn't want another boss. He wants a partner. Until that shift in consciousness happens on a massive scale, the trend will only accelerate. High-value men will continue to walk away from the altar. They will continue to choose solitude, peace, and freedom over legal risk and daily headaches. The game has changed. The men have realized that the prize they are being offered is actually a trap, and the smartest men in the room have simply decided to stop playing. Thank you for watching. If you understand exactly what I'm talking about, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let the debate begin. I'll see you in the